good, Lynn.
I do believe we have quorum, correct, Chance? Right, so we'll get this meeting started. Is there any public input? I do not see anybody here in the room. Veronica, I don't know if there's anybody in the waiting room.
No, we don't have a waiting room. The public does not have the Zoom link.
Right, thank you. So no public input. We'll move forward for the approval of the minutes from the September 2022 meeting. So I will take a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Thank you, Terry. A second.
I'll second.
Thank you, John. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hold on. Sorry, I just unmuted myself. I have two little comments on the meetings. On the minutes. On this section 4, on the first page, C says the referendum of November 8th election ballot, and the effect is 0.25 cents. That's a little confusing. The decimal point is confusing and should be removed. It's just 25 cents.
No, I think it is a quarter of a cent.
Yes.
Yes. Right, John.
It's cool.
It's not 25 cents on the 100.
Yeah.
Point
It is 0.25.
or it was.
It's 0.25%, and it's 0.25 cents on $1, but it's 25 cents on $100.
Yeah, really, it should have been, it didn't pass, but it should have been 0.25%.
Instead of the cents.
Yeah, we'll make the correction.
Yeah, okay, and then one little thing on the next page, 7, section 7C, just a sort of typo type thing. It says currently comparable to the volume in 2019 post-pandemic. I think it means pre-pandemic. The volume in 2019 was not post-pandemic. The pandemic began in 2020. So the volume in 2019 is pre-pandemic.
Correct, Peter. Good catch. We'll make the adjustment.
All right.
Okay, let's go back to the first one. It says 0.25 cents on $100 spent. Is that not what it's supposed to be?
That's correct. It is not what it's the decimal point before the 25 should come out. So it would read just 25 cents on every $100. The point makes it seem like it's a quarter of a cent on $100, but no, it's a quarter of a cent on $1 or 25 cents on $100. So just removing that period before the 25 will make it correct.
I'm sorry, isn't it 0.25 cents? Isn't that how you write 25 cents?
No.
Okay,
There's two ways to write 25 cents. $0.25 or 25 and cent symbol.
okay.
Thank you, Peter. We'll get those
Yeah.
corrections made, and we will move approval for those minutes to the next meeting once we get the corrections made. Does that
Okay.
sound good? Chance?
Sure.
All right, so let's defer that and move on to the parking services RFP.
All right, thanks, Lynn. Real quick, not necessarily the news I wanted to bring to the committee this morning, but long-awaited parking services RFP. Proposals were due on October 20th. We received 5 very detailed, very good proposals. Unfortunately, pretty quickly, we realized 3 of the 5 had missing pro forma expense information. Basically, we had requested a, um, a fee sheet for each location, 5-year period, and then an expense pro forma to back up those fees, basically just showing us how they tallied their, their total fee for each location each year. 3 of the 5 are missing that. Without that, really hard to compare apples to apples. As well, we talked about pursuing just the 2 that had submitted things correctly. Didn't realize at the same time, not only missing expense information, but there was the way we had structured this thing, there was a lot of subjectivity in there. Even those 2 that we had good proposals from, it was really tough comparing the 2 in terms of services and how we had put that out there. So right now we are looking to take this to city council on the December 6th agenda and recommend that they throw out all 5 proposals that were received. We go back to the drawing board very quickly, take out a lot of the subjectivity pieces of it, as well as put some very explicit language on what we need, what we don't need, and put this thing back out the bid. If we can get our ducks in a row, hopefully it'll be out in public at some point in December. So the other piece of this is because of the timing, Lanier's contract is up January 30th, 2023. This new contract was supposed to start February 1st, 2023. So at that 12-6 agenda, we're also going to recommend a 5-month extension for Lanier, not only to give us time to get this back out the bid, plenty of time for committee to get together, make a decision, bring it to council, hopefully plenty of time for a transitional period if there is a new contractor. And the other positive of this extension, this would bring us in line with the city's fiscal year. Historically, we've been running mid-year, so it's 7 months on a fiscal year, 5 months on a different fiscal year. It's very, very odd the way it's run. So this will put us in line with the city's fiscal year of July 1 through June 30th. So for budgetary factors, projections, it would help us out quite a bit. So. Any questions, Scott? No? That's it for that one. Any council action or any changes, revisions to our recommendation on 12-6, I will definitely alert the committee.
Good. Any questions, concerns?
We'll just run the existing linear terms out the 6 months.
Pretty much, we're working on that now with them. The only thing that could cause some complications is how they expense out the annual power washing. That's usually in April. And that's a pretty large expense for them, and it's included in their contract. So the only thing that could potentially be tricky is whether or not we complete that power washing during that 5-month period, or how that condensed period potentially changes their fee for that 5-month period. So we're working on that now.
Okay. Hearing nothing else, Chance, you can move on to loading zones.
All right, next up, commercial loading zones. There's 2 parts to this one this morning. First part is a recommendation to install a new commercial loading zone out in front of the Brooklyn Arts Center. And then the second part is just kind of an open conversation of some of the challenges we're seeing across the city with commercial loading zones, and hopefully where we want to take some solutions to. So first we'll start with commercial loading zone in front of the Brooklyn Arts Center. And that's 500 North 4th Street. And I'll go to the next slide real quick so everyone can see what we're talking about here. For those of you that have been in town and really active downtown for a while, you've probably regularly seen during their events, orange cones, all sorts of things holding back space. And really it's been for their large event deliveries and load ends. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think them putting out cones historically has worked up until recent, and just activity up there in general is complicating things. So Jeff met with the owner, Park Wilmington out there, kind of assessed. They wanted the loading zone on Campbell Street. That's where their main access point is into the large event space for their load ends. challenge with Campbell Street is that it's pretty narrow. It's probably not even big enough for 2 parking lanes and 2 drive lanes. So as soon as you put a large delivery truck there on the corner, it really complicates things to a safety issue. So our recommendation is to install a 45-foot loading zone right here in front of the center, right there at the corner, and have it commercial loading zone 30 minutes only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday mornings from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. That really, they didn't, that's all they asked for. That the other days are really hit or miss. Now, could we expand on that in the future? I think so. The WMPO building is also going in across the street there on the backside of the Wave Transfer Center. So I think there's a potential expansive use of that zone, but for now, just to not take away too much public parking, I think the 7 a to 1 p Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is really going to fit their needs currently.
Yes, bakery, what is it, 120, whatever, they're gonna come with the same request on March Street. They're very similar weekends, events, their vendors are getting taken, unloading and bringing. So I think it's worth perfecting that, obviously.
Sure.
Since it's the same type of.
Okay.
thing. But Orange is a skinny street too.
I might have something similar to that down a slide, so hold that one for a second. But point noted. Have them reach out to either me or Jeff. We can definitely look at it. So on this one, historically, we've brought these to DPAC because in most cases we've taken meters out and put loading zones in, or passenger loading zones in. So historically, DPAC has made a motion for approval or support. I don't know if you guys want to continue that in this route, since there's no meters get taken away. We're just adding a zone really for the benefit of that business. So it's really up to the committee if you want to take a
I
motion.
think we
Support.
should make a motion. The question I have is that I know during the summer months, event traffic greatly impacted this area. Are there any concerns with this request with event traffic? Based on times, I don't think so, but
It's more down toward.
yeah.
Being bad.
Yeah, I think the only complication I could see, if there's any overnight stays,
Yeah.
someone has a couple too many cold pops and leaves their car there and doesn't get back until, say 10 o'clock on Saturday. That would really be the only complication I could see.
Any other questions or concerns from the committee at this point?
Other than Edward Teach, there's nothing else right around in there that.
Now, WMPO across the street, and they're working on that building now. They're probably a year out. Edward Teach is across the street. Could there be some benefit to them? Yes. The way, I don't know how familiar you are with how Edward Teach is set up, but they have kind of 2 garage openings that go into their brewery, and it's kind of 2 curb cuts with a little skinny curb in the middle. So you can't really park there now anyway. So they're kind of just utilizing that dead space that's not marked as their own little loading
Okay, so
zone.
they're-
So it's kind of,
I don't need this.
I don't think so.
Any other discussion? If not, I think it would be a benefit for the committee to make a motion to approve and move forward with this. So if anybody would like to make a motion,
I'll make a motion to approve.
second,
Second,
thank you, Sarah, Peter, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, Veronica, that motion passes just for record. All right, Chance, moving on.
All right, here's the fun one. So continuing on to commercial loading zones. And this isn't just Wilmington. This is nearly every mid to large size city in the US, if not international. Since COVID, there's been huge increases in just the curb utilization, commercial deliveries, construction, food deliveries, e-commerce, Uber Eats. The Amazons of the world are just pumping out packages via FedEx, US Mail, all of the above. Some data I just recently read, by 2025, looking at 50% e-commerce increases, 2030, a 36% delivery vehicle increase, and all of those point to further increases in emissions from these cars driving around the block trying to find somewhere to park. All of this puts a very, very, very high demand on a very limited resource, especially for the city of Wilmington. We've got a pretty small, compact geographic area that's very vibrant. And I don't think any one of us in this room or on this call can walk downtown without seeing some kind of delivery challenge nearly every day. So really the goal here with this one today is just to kind of talk through some of the challenges we're seeing, get some input from the committee. I think Justin Smith's on the phone, so I'm happy he's joining us because I'm going to point to a commercial loading zone near Husk just to kind of point out some of the challenges we're seeing. And I want to preface this too. We're not saying delivery drivers are to blame. We're not saying non-delivery drivers are to blame. We're just trying to point out what we're seeing out there. And most of these are photos I've either taken and just travel's not looking for, or literally driving down Front Street and snapping a photo because of complications. So the first one here, here's a good example. And this is on the 100 block of Dock Street near Husk and I think the Village Market there. So here is a commercial vehicle right here, assuming he's making a delivery to Husk or somewhere on Front Street. And he just drove right past the wide open commercial loading space here. So, in this case, it's open. That's a pretty large zone there. That's like 60, 80 feet zone there. You could fit 2 decent sized delivery trucks there, hit Village Market, hit the brewery, and, take it to the corner of Front Street if needed there. Next one here is a case of non-commercial vehicles parking in the loading zone, then pushing the food delivery truck that's going to be either Ruth Chris or Mellow Mushroom there down to illegally park on the 0 block of Chestnut. As you can see, we did cite the 2 non-delivery vehicles, but having this open space, these guys are trying to sneak in for a quick in and out wherever they're going. And the domino effect is it pushes the Cisco truck down the street to park illegally. And as you can see, you've got a car driving the wrong direction on a very tight corner there with lots of blind spots coming all different directions there. Another one here, and this is the last one we'll go through, is the same situation as before, to where on the left here, you got the Culligan water truck, number one, haphazardly parked in this metered parking space, but a passenger / commercial loading zone right here in front of the courtyard that he could easily have pulled up to and utilized and not ended up like he ended up in this photo here. And then the last one here, and Terry will talk a little bit more about this one in your comment earlier. Another one to where there's a very large loading zone right here. I think this is the 100 block of South Front Street. And Cisco truck, number one, going the wrong, number one, parked in the middle of the road, but number two, just completely missing the wide open commercial loading zone there. And Terry, just to your point early, Bakery 108 is right next door to this. Can they not use this loading zone right here and just take it right around the corner?
Well, again, it's the laziness, because the entrance, they want to come in from Orange directly into the building. Honestly,
I can't hear.
They keep telling me that these truck drivers downtown our company say, take the fine. So if we're going to enforce it, we've got to make it curb. We can't make it, a $50 ticket. The beer guys don't care. They'll just pay it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know Chance,
Well-
we talked about in the past about designated bus parking for needs, designated unloading and unloading. Is it not possible that we take a map of downtown and then look at where these needs are?
I'm
designate-
sorry. Can we please speak into the microphones?
Designate the needs and then, make a map, a map that this is commercial loading and unloading zone, so Terry can share with her vendors, and then John can share with his guests coming in, saying, this is where bus parking is in the city of Wilmington, and make it a very clear cut map of where these designations are located, because I think, like Terry mentioned, it's just laziness. I want to park at the front door and I'm on a tight schedule. I don't care. We'll park right here in the middle of the street so I can deliver it to the front door. But maybe if we have some backing from the city saying, no, these are our designated areas. I don't know, just a thought.
Uh,
How many loading zones are there downtown? Do we know?
Roughly
30?
30. Yeah, we've got a very old map. Been working with Jeff. We're trying to engage city GIS on that one so that we can put an outward facing GIS map on exactly where these are that can be posted both online, and we could work once we get completed, a handout to WDI and DBA so that, when they get quizzed or questioned for new business, old business, they can easily send it out.
Chance, if I can talk really quick, this is Justin. So a couple things that I've heard that don't line up with what I'm hearing from our delivery drivers. One is, most of our delivery drivers have actually said that they're having to take on the fines. Now, I'm going to look into that because, Terry, if that's what you're hearing, that the beer company is saying that they're paying the fines, I want to know that because we're not hearing that same information. Secondly, I think the other thing is on the laziness part of it, which I don't disagree with entirely. However, I will say, if you think about the fact that, oftentimes downtown, they may have, 15 to 20 stops. If they are parked a half a block up, and let's just say they have, 15 trips back and forth, it can add 15 to 20 minutes on to every single one of those trips. So although I don't think we should just dismiss the fact that, I don't think we should just dismiss the fact that this is, laziness. It does add a significant portion of their day by the amount of trips that they have to make and wear and tear on their body and whatnot. Secondly, I think that, traffic in general, the high volume of traffic on delivery days, most of our deliveries, for example, come on Wednesdays altogether. And that does, although the picture you show right there has been an issue, and we tell all of our delivery drivers to use the loading zone. I'm hoping that also that picture that you showed of ours looks like it's an early morning where there's zero traffic, as you can see right there. Just looking at how many cars are parked along the side of the road tells me that that's a 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning photo. And I hope that we can use some common sense as we are taxing these drivers money wise. So I'm hoping there's some. It seems like there was an effort to stop them from parking in this scenario from happening, not using that loading zone. But I hope that we look and say, okay, well, these guys are trying to shorten their day. Common sense approach as far as that goes. I'll just throw that out there and see what I'm sure everyone will have their have their opinion on what I'm saying, but I do believe that it's a problem on our block. It's a problem for our building, and I hope that we're not willing to pass on punitive tickets to drivers.
Are we still enforcing? I know, Justin, one of the issues that we face, I'll give an example of Platypus. There's a loading zone right out front, but it's a time-limited loading zone. And nothing's worse than grabbing a lunch sitting on the sidewalk with the beer truck fumes, in the dead of the summer on you. And those are the guys that were telling us, hey, we'll take the hit. We'll take take the fee instead of moving and
Yeah.
I think that's what, in fact, at one point, we were trying to figure out how to get most of the loading zones off of Front Street onto Finger Streets, am I right?
Yeah, I think some of that predates me, but yeah, I think the idea and that solution could potentially still stand after a certain time of the day.
Well, and I think that's gonna be important because I know some of these businesses and restaurants are looking at the liquor license expanding into sidewalk areas, street areas. So, I mean, if we're looking at that expanse, we need to look at where these trucks, because like Terry said, nobody wants to sit there and have lunch sucking in diesel fumes all day.
So
I
I
don't think
know
there's
we're
any.
talking about use of the commercial loading zones. There were some photos, obviously, of cars cited in those spaces. Do we have any unique citation rules as far as scofflaw or anything like that regarding the loading zones instead of just normal like meter spaces?
I think it's just a slightly elevated fee. I think the loading zone fee right now is $50, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, as long as you give them an excuse to say it was full, you can't really expect them to use it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just the way it is.
it's nearly double what a overtime meter citation is currently.
Which means nothing to a business. So yeah.
Do we have any data on how many citations are being given to commercial vehicles?
We can pull that. That's kind of where I'm kind of leading to on one of these slides. I think every input, and I don't want to, I want to continue this conversation, not only today, but in the future, because I think we're at the very starts of coming up with some kind of solution. Noted all points you guys brought up. Justin, to your point, we're not trying to slap these guys with fines. We know they have a tough job. We know it is tricky. It is a tight geographic area. They're trying to deliver, 100-pound kegs to all day, every day. So the goal is not to penalize folks. I think the ultimate goal is to try to get compliance, and right now, I think the starts of potentially getting compliance it was mentioned by Len. Number one, we got to identify these zones and get them outwardly out there to these deliveries. Second, we don't have any data on these commercial loading zones, other than what I see in my travels, what Jeff sees as the travels, what Park Wilmington sees in their travels. There was a handwritten survey probably 9 years ago, and that was literally a Park Wilmington employee walking around from zone to zone throughout the day, spending essentially most of their day for a few weeks, documenting what they see. There is technology out there now that can help us. There's at least 2 firms out there that are using pretty cool computer vision, which you see on our screen here, where you basically mount the camera in a specific zone or a specific area of your downtown. And so you can see the photo on the right with the green, the red, and the blue. Basically, these things are smart enough to grab and capture what's a commercial vehicle, what's not a commercial vehicle, length of stay for that specific vehicle, illegally parked, not illegally parked, et cetera. And then take all that into analytical data so that, cities can see what's happening in some of these areas. What I would like to do is pursue some of this technology, at least on a trial basis, so we can grab some data. And I think if we have good, solid data that we can work from, I think then between the committee and the city, we can probably formulate some better policies on really how to better manage this. I think one of the solutions down the line is some kind of permit system. And I think there may or may not be a nominal fee with something like that, but I think we need to be able to distinguish what is a legitimate commercial vehicle, because there are some passenger vehicles out there. I know there are some restaurant bar owners that, pick up and drop deliveries of ABC liquor, to their front door in their passenger vehicle. We don't want to be citing those, but we need to know, who is who and what is what. So I think the data piece is probably one of the biggest first steps, and there's never been technology out there like this until the last couple of years. So, and there are big cities using these guys, Pittsburgh, LA, Raleigh's using one of them as of recently. So I think if we have some good solid data that we can look at on the city side and bring to the committee with some recommendations, I think that's going to go a long way.
And Chance, can I ask, is there a complaint driven, is there something going on complaint wise on our block, traffic wise, from a business and or drivers that is forcing this new enforcement, or not this, maybe not new enforcement, but a heavier enforcement? I mean, is there a reason why it bothers us that Cisco may pull up, opposite those parking spots right there on the corner of Front and Dock Streets to unload, to make it quicker, rather than that? I'm just wondering what the element, or is that just, one of the Lanier guys walking by and being like, can you believe they're not using the loading zone?
No, Jeff, I mean, Justin, to be honest, it's a lot of it's been driven by me. And it's really number one, safety. And number two, I think the push to site as of recent was mainly driven by the non-commercial vehicles that are parking in these zones. But at the same time, when we're seeing zones empty and commercial vehicles kind of parked haphazardly, creating a safety hazard, it's kind of our job to cite. And the Husk example here, if someone goes around, even if this is 9 a.m, if someone goes around this truck by Husk and pulls up toward Front Street, you could have a car turning left off Front, and that's a blind spot there, especially if there's a car parked across from the truck. There isn't in this photo, but it's encroaching on taking it down to a 1 lane or less, and it's just a safety hazard.
I got you.
And Justin, to your point, and I don't think you got to this, but what I think of is, the 100 block of Dock Street in a way is fairly similar to the 100 block of Princess Street. Currently on Princess Street, there are 2.5 zones. There's there's 3.5 zones. And I say 3.5 because there's 3 that are pretty much full-time Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday. And then there's another one by Hell's Kitchen that's only 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. It's kind of like a shared zone.
Yep.
But it's very similar in terms of there's not a whole lot of passenger vehicle public traffic until much later in the day. This as we kind of walk through this could be a good opportunity to identify some of these kind of artery type streets that Terry mentioned of, maybe we add a few more zones to these side streets to kind of help pull back on some of the traffic and congestion off Front. And, in this case, maybe instead of having meter parking there all day, every day, maybe it's a shared zone right in front of Husk there, to where it's deliveries, 8 to 1, and then passenger parking from there on, or something like that. But I think this is a good opportunity to identify, maybe where we've missed and what we're missing. And there's probably better options out there than just sitting here with a single stagnant zone on a block and really not touching it.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I would recommend that we look at it collectively, because we recently have had residential neighborhoods, request, certain restrictions. So I would recommend we look at it from a drone's view of Wilmington downtown, and where do these loading zones make sense? Where do these residential parking restrictions make sense? And then we can identify them and make it very clear cut for everybody. Because I think right now, if we just try to, and I'm just using Husk as an example because they're here. We're going to put a loading zone there for Husk, but then, two buildings down, well, we need a loading zone for them, so I think it would behoove the city as a whole and us as a whole to look at the needs for all the businesses, because Cape Fear, who takes up several blocks, doesn't need those loading zones. So, but your restaurants and your bars do. So let's look at it as a whole and create that footprint.
Absolutely.
And in that same,
One thing that we need to keep in mind though, downtown is at a saturation level right now that we've never experienced. We've never had as many vibrant, active businesses. And our loading zone program was set in effect based on need, as you're saying, over the years. I think it's, it's a good time to look at it based on where the restaurants are now, where retail that need, the loading zone was, in a way, start from scratch.
I did concur, and I think I've always been a fan of for the shared drop-offs, creating loading zones / shared drop-offs. My big experience, not so much in the morning as when I'm downtown, but in the evenings and the Ubers and Lyfts stopping in the middle of the road, that's a safety concern. So repainting, relabeling, trying to get shared loading zones and drop-off zones, rethink about the user experience. And then, yes, Lieutenant Nichols, are you still there? I would ask that if maybe between the parking division and police department go through and figure out where does he have cameras already? I don't know if it looks like he walked away, but it would be awesome. Like, so yes, I'm all about the fancy automotives or the Pebble, Google Sidewalk Labs, all these loading zone technologies, but let's figure out what cameras Lieutenant Nichols already has in place downtown, what loading zones do they cover? And then let's figure out some AI that's not crazy expensive that we can feed into the cameras that are already covering those loading zones.
Yeah, at least one of the firms out there, it's a good point you bring up, Scott. At least one of the firms out there can integrate their software on top of already established cameras, so long as the bit rate's correct.
Yep.
And all of that.
So
stuff.
let's
And
figure out
it's-
how to feed some of the cameras from WPD into the parking division, find AI so we don't, automotives or somebody like that's going to cost a fortune.
absolutely.
A fortune. No offense to Automotus or Sidewalk Labs, but if we have cameras in place already, figuring out an AI firm that can just recognize it, that's simple AI, like simple, big vehicle, commercial vehicle versus passenger vehicle, and then use what camera feeds we have in place.
Mike.
Look at change of building use, because you have a lot of changeover now happening where you might have more need in certain areas of the city for a new commercial loading zone. For instance, we had a building recently that changed over from a use of just a tech company where you'd have employees parking in a parking deck to now an event space on Front Street. And they're going to need, but I don't know of any commercial loading zone that was put in place with the construction of the North Front Street corridor between Chestnut and Grace. So there's a lot of changeover in building use as well. And we need to figure out where the commercial loading zones need to go to fit some of the needs that are popping up.
And I was gonna say something that's kind of piecing everything together from what everyone was saying. You're talking about doing time zones, but we've got vendors unloading in the morning. We've got buses in mid-morning to afternoon and evening. You've got the Uber people late night. So it might be good just to completely take it out of inventory, paint it red or blue or gray or whatever. And so it's taken completely out, and it's that space all day long, never an individual parking there.
Got it. Justin, you're still on, right? As we look at this, it's obviously easier and less congested and a lot less vehicles downtown in the mornings. Like, how can we push or incentivize, how do we incentivize, can we incentivize some of these deliveries to start making their deliveries before 10 o'clock downtown? Like how, I think that would ease up a lot of some of the challenges we're having.
Sure. Yeah. I think that it's worth the conversation to see if we can get the decision makers in the room. I don't know the reason why we've mentioned that before. A lot of it has to do with owners not showing up, wanting to show up, but we're always willing, I know, to come and unlock the door. But a lot of these bars, they're late night folks and they're just not willing to come down until a certain time. I think it's
in the city code right now, it's I don't know that it's even that well known in the city code right now. You can make any delivery in any legal parking space until 10 a.m. every morning. So if you're making a delivery, you can pull into a metered space and make a delivery. So
yeah,
how do we?
I feel as though it's worth the conversation. I think it's probably, it's a dual conversation. I think that there'd be some finger pointing going on between the two sides. I think, the drivers would say that the owners, or they're not unwilling to open doors. I think the owners would say, the drivers can't make it down. But I think it's, we can certainly start the conversation. I think the first conversation would be, with Siskiyou, with our food and beer, the biggest beer companies, and see if we could get the six major companies that deliver downtown on board with that. And that would certainly, those are usually the biggest trucks with taking up the biggest amount of land. But I can see let me see what I can do on that. And maybe Terry, you can help me, gather what people's thoughts on that.
Yeah, any input, Terry, Christina, Justin, any input you guys can get from, the businesses, the vendors, those folks that are really making these deliveries and dealing with this, input of what works, what doesn't work. We don't want to exclude them. We really want to, there's never going to be a perfect solution to this, but we at least want to start looking toward that solution.
Terry, do you have any thoughts on that? On why they can't come down earlier or don't?
No, I'm like you. I was always under the impression based on the signage and, with restaurants too, Justin, nobody wants them showing up at lunchtime during rush hours or at night with deliveries. And it's irritating to the staff when they're dragging, dolly through with wine and people are being served at a table. So that was always the intent, was to have deliveries early in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it falls on the businesses, and I think we could, get an idea with some type of letter going out to them and asking them, their thoughts on it and seeing if we can get a solution to getting people there earlier to open the doors.
All right, any other discussion on this topic at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to city and parking updates. Chance?
And first one we'll start with is a slide that we really haven't discussed with the committee in some time, and it's really the off-street parking stats. And when I say off-street here, it's now Market Street, Second Street deck, and River Place deck. Something we used to keep annually for the Bring It Downtown campaign. Haven't really utilized this for some time. Now that we have increased fees again and also reduced that grace period from 90 minutes to 30 minutes, I felt it very beneficial to kind of look at where we are first quarter of this year with these changes. On the left graph, that's this year, first quarter, July through September. The right side is last year. And once again, it's the 3 parking decks. Total tickets pulled at these 3 decks are up 2% year over year, which should be a positive to everyone in this room. That hopefully means there's more people coming downtown. And then the big change is the blue section of paid tickets. Our paid tickets with the grace period reduced has gone from 68% of total tickets pulled paid to 82%. That is something we were definitely looking to increase. And the flip side of the green column, the no park, which are the $0 value tickets, has gone down from 32% of total pulled down to 18%. I would expect these numbers to continue to climb kind of in opposite direction, especially blue and green, because 1 month of this quarter still had the old fees and the old grace period. So I think this 18% of no charge is probably going to continue to tick down, and then the total paid will probably continue to tick up as we progress this fiscal year. Next slide is total parking revenues for the year. We're up 21% first quarter compared to last quarter, right at $300,000. Majority of that is coming from the off-street side, which is great. On-street revenues are up significantly. One of the biggest with no fee increases, we're on the citation side. I guess it's a positive and a negative. we're writing more citations because business has picked up. Things are nearly back to normal, if not beyond normal downtown here. And citation collections are nearly equal to FY20 3 years ago and higher than 3 of the 4 previous years here. On-street hours purchased, which are the on-street meter purchases, nearly even with last fiscal year, slight drop. The assumption there is as the rates went from $1.50 per hour to $2 per hour, a few price conscious folks have shifted into the parking decks to either utilize that 30-minute free or just the $1 first hour, which is essentially half the price of the on-street. And the off-street continue to ticks up. The decks are up 18% year over year, and the lots are up 51% year over year. I'm not sure what's driving the lot use, but you know, the few times I've been down here on a Friday night, Saturday night, I know the Second Street lot is nearing to or at capacity as of 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's definitely busier on the Second Street lot than it has been in years past. Any questions on the revenues? I think let me slide back to the first slide. You know, one of the biggest complaints we were receiving leading into the rate increases were, you know, it's going to drive people out of downtown. It's obviously the first thing we always hear, not only in Wilmington, but nearly every city that has these challenges. But, you know, these numbers tell me that, you know, more people we're at least at a static even or more, which is positive. So that extra 50 cents on street and the extra $1 here and there, at least on the parking side, hasn't reduced our numbers.
Chance, is there any update on the token issue?
We have ordered brand new tokens, which we hadn't done in
50 years.
long time. Noah, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we have ordered tokens and sent them to the IPS meter vendors so that they can completely weigh and calibrate them. So they work nearly 100% of the time. So we're close to getting new tokens out there. So we can alert you once that happens, and feel free when we do that to
Swap 'em out.
exchange and swap out. Yeah.
The deal is the old tokens, the machines, half the time it'll give you 8 minutes instead of an hour. So I guess the weight, I don't know if they're just worn out or what. But
Yeah, they're supposed to be weight calibrated, and I think some of those things are so old that they get chipped, ding, they collect dust, debris, and it's just hard to get weighting comes off to get a consistent weight on every single one of those 10+ year old tokens.
I've dropped 2 or 3 before, got nothing.
Well, you guys just don't want to hear from my office manager anymore.
We are looking at a virtual online type solution to where, you know, an account could be set up with our meter vendor, and then, you know, as a customer or client comes in, you could punch in their license plate and validate them, you know, from the front desk or wherever. The challenge you're running into it there is in most cases, there is a per transaction fee. So there's just an additional cost. I think we could easily roll that out. It's just whether or not someone wants to go down pay that extra fee for the convenience. Next city update is Second Street parking deck rehab project. We are nearing the finish line.
Look like a chance.
I like the fan.
I was hoping that I could grab some attention with this one, right? This is the west stairwell. This was day 1 of the west stairwell demo. I didn't have time to get over there and get a current shot of it, but the current shot right now on the west stair it's completely emptied. So they have completely finished their demo as of Monday. And the rebuilding of that entire stairwell, all 5 floors, begins next week. Being told about a 2-week total process time on rebuild. My assumption is it'll probably take the whole month of December. But that's the last major component of the rehab project. Once that's complete, opened up, we'll then finish just the repair portion of the east stairwells at the deck. And hopefully we are going to be able to add the LED light retrofit in on this project. We're looking to put in a change order on the general contractor right now for a full stairwell and drive lane LED light retrofit now that things are dry and sealed up in that parking deck. So that will be a big safety and aesthetic improvement. So the brunt of the repair work hopefully done December, early January. The only thing that hopefully will be lingering at that point is the lighting retrofit of that. This is the end of phase one. I think we're going to continually have phases on this one. Phase two is going to basically be everything that wasn't a priority with phase one. As soon as we're finished, we'll be working with our engineers on that, and most likely next budget season, put some funding back into this project and continue on. That's pretty much at this point with a 30-plus-year-old parking deck. It's going to be some ongoing repair and maintenance items that need to get done so that we aren't staring at a full demo of stairwells anymore. So. Only other city update I have, not on the slide, but 300 block of North Front Street with the CFQA city infrastructure rehab project there. It looks like as of now, December 11th or somewhere thereabouts, the street should be nearing opening again with some of the residual planting, sidewalk work. But the goal is to at least get the street up and walkable, hopefully leading into the holiday there. And just so the committee is aware, on the 200 block and most likely the 300 block, depending on when it opens for parking, we have not reinstalled the parking meters on that block to date. We didn't really come to the committee for official action or input, but I was assuming everyone would have been okay with this. We're kind of holding back just to give those two blocks some relief, and we'll most likely put those meters back in first of the year.
They appreciate it.
Yeah, I think some of the challenges with that, it's been enforcing the long-term parkers, because I think the first couple of weeks there were some folks camped out there. Park Wilmington did issue warnings for a couple of weeks, and I think they're still issuing first-time site warnings for any 2-hour overtime. If there's a second offense, then there's a dollar value on that citation. But the goal right now, probably first week of January, we'll come back in and reinstall those single space meters. I believe that's it on the city updates, unless any committee members have any questions or concerns.
I just have a quick question. I know back in the day, we enlisted Kimley Horn to be kind of on a standby for as needed projects. Have we enlisted them at any point at this time, or do we anticipate enlisting their services?
Great question, Lynn.
Every now and then.
The answer is yes and no, or no and yes, I guess. We still have a 5-year master services agreement with them. I believe we are on current year 4 of that 5-year agreement. We utilize them for a survey on the north end leading up to the parks opening. Really looked at 4th Street and north of Red Cross to see what those residual effects are going to be of those 30 concerts a year. We also utilize them for kind of the phase 1 proposal that we received on the Gateway project on the north end. That has kind of been taken back to the drawing board. So the answer on the yes side is yes. I would assume we would engage them as further developments come with the Gateway project. And something we've been talking about but never really pushed forward is a kind of a Lisa phase 1 plan for the 4th Street North Side Brooklyn Arts area. I'm looking to engage Kinley. We also have Walker as a secondary looking to probably engage them here in the near future on a really high level assessment of 4th Street and kind of what our phase 1 of managed parking up there could be.
And I just wonder if maybe they can assist with like the overall view of the city with these commercial loading zones, and residential requests and that sort of thing as well.
Absolutely. Great question.
Any other questions, concerns about city updates? Hearing none, we'll move to the organization. CFCC, we are getting busy. Thank goodness. We are coming back after COVID. Events are happening. We will be hosting the city holiday parade here in the next several weeks. I cannot not believe in saying that. And we're doing well. We are still facing the challenges, WPD with 3rd Street Bridge and the population underneath there. That is still a very much big issue and getting worse. So any assistance is appreciated. But other than that, we are doing well. Lots of events happening. We are really pushing for all of our students to be back full time in spring of 2023. We'll still offer online hybrid versions of classes, but we are really pushing for the in-person to come back. So. CBB.
Kind of an off time of year for us. We've got do have a few things going though. There are marine balls that are still happening at the convention center as well as at the Ballast. We also have the historic half marathon, December 3rd, if I remember correctly, and I think that's looking to be somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people. So,
Thank you, sir. DBA.
Well, we've got the tree lighting coming up the day after Thanksgiving. Last year, I think they said there was over 2,000 people there, so we had a hard time getting Santa to the stage. That's going on. The next day is a small business Saturday, and there's going to be street closures. Pool Wilmington's going to be hosting a street fair as well. And then the window decorating contest will be going on the beginning of December and judging. So we're really trying to pull a little holiday spirit back downtown, not virtual, in person.
Thank you, ma'am. New Hanover County. Row.
Row has made major progress on our effort to get traffic lights on South 3rd Street at Ann and Orange Street. The funding for both traffic lights has been approved through the WMPO. The light at Ann Street is going to be funded by the city, and the light at Orange Street will be funded by NCDOT, and targeting installation for July of 2024. So that's good progress. I'm sure everybody knows, or almost everybody knows, that there is no traffic light on South 3rd Street between Market and Castle. So it's hard to safely cross the street. The other thing is that now, after 3 years, we're planning a backdoor kitchen tour for next year. So we're looking forward to that. That's all.
WDI.
Well, today we're going to have our, I believe, second NCDOT WDI MSD cleanup of the 3rd Street Bridge property. So we will be going underneath the bridge today at noon. We're also going to have our county partners join us, the folks that are jumping on board the Getting Home initiative. So we're going to have 2 street outreach workers, the street outreach folks that they're looking to hire or have hired. I'm not sure where they are just yet, under the bridge helping out. And so you should see a little more cleanliness under there. We're also working with the county to try and see if we can get more routine cleanups underneath that section of the corridor. I have issued 2 upcoming MSD cleanups where we'll be taking the entire MSD team down there to do cleanups to keep up with NCDOT is going to be doing today. So we will see how that goes and hopefully maintain the trash underneath there. Still working on helping that population reach those needed services as well, but at least we can take care of the trash issue immediately. Our off-season hours shift for our ambassadors is going well, and I think we're going to continue that until February. So we're shifted hours here and there to increase more visibility of the ambassador team during the off-season to assist some of the business owners during the daytime and throughout the week, and whatever tourists come through. So we have about 753 hospitality contacts for October, and 112 business contacts. I'm hoping those numbers will go up once we get it in at the end of November, and we'll continue to assess the hours needs as we go through the off season. We're also working with NCDOT to do an assessment of the crossings along 3rd Street coming into the city via the Isabel Holmes Bridge and the Northern Gateway. I'm hoping to have a plan maybe in place by the next concert season. We're just seeing a lot of pedestrians cross over from the Live Oak or the Live Oak Bank Pavilion concerts over 3rd Street and into the 4th Street area. And it's just, some of these folks are just playing leapfrog across the street, and it's very unsafe. So we're trying to figure out a means to increase pedestrian safety, mainly through that initial corridor where you're having folks come in from 55 miles an hour into a 35-mile-an-hour zone, and you know, having pedestrians in that area. So we're looking at that. We're going to have a bid meeting 2 Mondays from now, and we're going to be looking at some new technologies, maybe a more focused marketing plan on the parking decks, given that we are now down to the 30 minutes free, and with the city's plan to going forward with the parking decks. I'm hoping to issue a new website that focuses on the parking decks and has a map that people can use with a QR code, where it'll pull up and they can look at all of the businesses, restaurants, you know, bars and whatnot around the area of the parking deck, and click on it, and then through a GPS map be able to take your phone and have a pathway that you can actually walk on your phone. It's a new piece of technology. It's pretty neat to help folks navigate downtown. And then last thing that we've been working on more recently is the graffiti issue downtown. Our ambassadors are cleaning up graffiti almost every day. So we're working with Wilmington Police and our MSD's teams to try and figure out who the culprits are. We have a few tags that are being used throughout the city on a regular basis. So hopefully we will be able to catch whoever's been doing it. And but we are removing graffiti and within 24 hours. So, and that's all for now.
Thank you. WPD.
Good morning. So I'm gonna piggyback pretty much off Christina. It seems like I always do every month. We have had an uptick in the graffiti and B&Es, basically around the ballast is the B&Es graffiti. We've taken a few numerous reports for that. We have a special, like a surveillance team that we have with the police department they've changed their hours and are working later at night to try to pinpoint and hold some of these guys accountable for what they're doing. We're also assisting with the bridge today from 12 to 2 with DOT and the WDI folks. We have 5 ABC officers that are now fully capable and in service. They've been doing some inspections on the liquor licenses and such. We've also, since they've been implemented, last month, we wrote over 50 citations for alcohol-related incidents. Also, we just purchased a new horse. And I don't know if y'all have seen, but here recently, the horses are back downtown during the day shift. So that new horse will be in service probably in the next few weeks. We just recently got 5 e-bikes that were purchased through grant funds. They should be in service also, which will help in our, in the downtown area. These guys get around and be seen and more visible rather than just being in their cars. They can be out and approachable. Hopefully that helps some things. And then lastly, we have 10 officers that are being released after next week that will help supplement some of our issues on the street. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you, sir. Any other updates, questions, concerns at this time? Okay, hearing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Thank you, Jerry. A second? John will second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all. We appreciate it. And Chance, we are having a December meeting. Is that correct?
Say that again.
We are having a December meeting. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
you can.
Well, normally we
Defer, yeah.
defer that one, but I know we've deferred some others this year.
I would
so-
say let's plan on having it. I don't know that there's any pertinent action type items, but there could be some RFP related stuff and then just updates on some of the stuff that was brought up today. So,
Of course, so we'll plan on seeing everybody in December, but thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. Dear.
I think it's time that it should.